Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and today we'll be going over a Amber Sapphire aggro deck using the new Daisy Legendary, as well as the new, not Aurora, where is she? Rapunzel, that's it. I have been a little under the weather and just super stressed and busy with a bunch of shows, so forgive me if I sound a little out of sorts today, but let's go through it. This is a pretty simple list, so this won't be overly complicated. It essentially revolves around the Princess core we've seen before, the Queen Sensor core. This has shown up since set... When did this come out? It came out in set 5, and I think it really started showing up around set 7, set 8. But this one uses a new element, which is support, as both the Daisy Duck has support as well as the Rapunzel. And Rapunzel is probably the most interesting card in this list. Whenever one of your characters is chosen for support, till the start of your next turn, the next time they would be dealt damage, they take no damage instead. This can be used both defensively and offensively. So if I were to give support to this Raja, by the way, which is a really great line, you know, whatever your 1-drop is, Rapunzel on 2, Raja on 3, in bodyguard mode, you give him the support keyword. Now, whatever they run into him, that first bit of damage just doesn't even work. It just bounces off of him, and then they have to send something else to get to him to be able to eventually get to the Rapunzel. So it's a really cool feature. Any of your characters with support, yeah, can just kind of create this chain of protection. Not as good with some of the new Ruby cards like Headless Horseman. That's obviously going to get right around it, but still, it's super cool. She's a princess, so she works with Aurora. She also works with the Queen Sensor core, so it's a pretty straightforward package. I'll talk about some of the new cards. I really wanted to try the Daisy. The only way I can see this card working is you have to shift this onto this Daisy deck. I mean, it could be another Daisy deck, but you want to shift her on 4 so she can immediately quest, so she can be exerted. And if you get to do this, and if you go first, and if they aren't playing a blue deck, so that's like 3 caveats, she is quite strong, actually, essentially making them repeat their turn 3, because on your turn 4, you shift her in, and now, even though they inked before that turn, they can't use that ink. It's pretty powerful, but it does require a lot to line up. Again, it doesn't really work against the blue deck since they ramp so far ahead of you anyway, but it's a cool idea, and then the fact that she has support, she has really good stats on a body, and then if you have your Rapunzel, she can protect someone or protect the Rapunzel, and so the support is quite nice. Beyond that, we are essentially filled out with princesses and bodyguards, help Queen Sensor core. At first, World's Greatest Criminal Mind, I was kind of like, this spell's just so weird, right? It's so specific, but it works great with support because you can support your opponent's characters, especially a card like Daisy Duck. You support, you give them +4 strength, presumably unless they have no strength, they're going to have over 5 now, and then you can just whack them with World's Greatest Criminal Mind. So I actually like this card quite a bit with support. Other than that, we're just filling the list out with princesses, queens to trigger Queen Sensor core. Aurora Tiana is still a very strong opening, although Tiana is quite a bit weaker this set, with cards like Lexington being introduced that can just one-shot her, which is very upsetting, as well as, again, Headless Horseman could just take her out and not have to worry about paying the challenge costs. Ludwig von Drake still continues to be probably the best reason to be doing this color combination. Alanwi is not only a princess, but just support, so she's a pretty solid 1-drop to have. This Anna, I don't love her, but I'm not 100% sure what to replace her with. She is a queen, so she will trigger for that. She kind of wants hero synergy, which we have some. We have the Aurora, we have the Rapunzel as a hero, this Moana as a hero. So there is some, but like for 1-drop heroes, it's only the Aurora, and you probably have better things you can do if you can do Aurora on 1. So like Anna's okay, but if you could find a better replacement for this card, I think you could easily replace it. But it's essentially stuff that just gets off the Sensor core. If you're unfamiliar with the Sensor core, start your turn, as long as you have a princess or queen character in play, you gain a lore, and then you can use it as essentially a little bit of card draw. It only reveals the top card, and there are enough non-queen and princesses in here that it will whiff, but still, it's a fun idea. Mrs. Beakley to help protect. Fergus is just kind of in here for Ward. He's okay. If I could find another princess to put him with, it'd be really nice. Aurora with Ward and the support going on is pretty nice. Again, unless they have some kind of crazy effect that just gets around all of it, it's makes it pretty challenging for your opponent. And this Mulan's actually really decent. If she can get going, she essentially says draw 1 card every turn, unless you get very, very unlucky. So it's a very straightforward deck, not a whole lot to it. Let me show you some matches with it. As always with the matches, these are against the Ink Table AI, so take these with a grain of salt. AI will not really make the best decisions, and they'll often quest with characters they shouldn't, or challenge with characters they shouldn't, so just take that with a grain of salt, but it's just here to help show you some lines. This deck is a little heavy on the uninkables, as you can see right here, but Ludwig is a really good turn too. They don't have anything to grab there, but he's nice that he can trade with this Tinkerbell, and then go into the Inkwell, help boost your ramp, which actually lets you get to the big Daisy naturally. Lumiere, really good counter there, allows the Tinkerbell to cleanly trade with our Daisy Duck. I go ahead and quest with the Ludwig because I'm okay if he wants to send the Lumiere in. since it just ramps me up in the inkwell. Not a great hand in the sense that we don't have a sensor core. We don't have anything to keep digging further. Scout again with the Ludwig. There's nothing there. Moana's at least a bit of a beater for us. Here's an example. You really shouldn't be questing with the Lumiere, but it's a computer and they have no faith. So here's what we'll do. We'll use our first instance of support, and I'll give it to the Moana. Moana challenges Diablo. Takes no damage in return. The Rapunzel completely protects her. And now I can take it out with the Von Drake, and the Mrs. Bleakley is protecting my Rapunzel, except when a horseman comes down. Pretty clean way to do it. So here we have a big old Daisy Duck we can go in on, which has support. I'll just go ahead and quest with Moana, because it trades out the horseman if he decides to send it in. What it doesn't do is protect you from Cheshire Cat. And Cheshire Cat and anything that puts damage counters on, like those just mean scary, it does get around this Rapunzel support protection, which doesn't really make sense to me. You would think it would, like, avoid that, but who knows. Nonetheless, we've got the Daisy online. We can give support to characters. As you can see, he runs into the Rapunzel. It doesn't do anything because she's blocked by that first instance of damage. Now we still have it online. Opposing Demona is actually quite good for this, as we get double bodyguards. So what I'll probably do, I imagine, is give the support keyword to both bodyguards. Yeah, so now you have 2 bodyguards to get through, and they can't take any damage. So now you have to have something like Headless Horseman or Cheshire Cat to get around that. So first Demona comes in, just takes 3 for nothing. We do use the Cheshire counter to just outright get rid of the Rapunzel, which is very annoying. But we can go in on the Daisy, and we're at least very far ahead lore-wise. I can support, make these Rajas hit insanely hard. Raja hitting is a 7-4? That's pretty good. But I decided to just try to go fast. Say, hey, you got to answer all these characters, and I don't think you can. And again, Demona at least gives us a bunch of stuff to do with. World's Greatest Criminal Mind, really good against Demona, Goliath, some of these high-power cards. Look at that, supporting Ludwig von Drake. Who knew that he could take out Demona on his own? Obviously, I didn't need to do that because I'd won anyway, but it is really satisfying when he hits for 5, and then he just goes into your inkwell anyway. You're looking for your standard curve out in this. If you can get like Aurora into Tiana, that's always strong. I do really like the Rapunzel, so if you can find Aurora into Rapunzel, which kind of works. Like, she does make her cheaper. So let's see if I do that this turn. So like I can make the Rapunzel cheaper by 1 if I quest, and then I could just try to spam out a bunch of 1-drops. Yeah, so I was able to get out the Elanwi as well, which is another character with support. So now I can kind of start doing some support shenanigans if I so desire. Got a lot of options here. Could establish a sensor core. Could get the Moana out, get the bodyguard out to help protect. So we'll get the bodyguard, give him support, and then I'll give the Rapunzel support. So just in case, which I don't know what you'd possibly do on 4 ink to get through both those cards, but just in case, all right, now we've got something to do. Now remember, it only does last until the start of your turn. So currently that protection they had, it's gone now. I will need to reapply it. So it's something to keep in mind. We have Raja support him, support the Rapunzel again, just in case they do it. Again, they are in Headless Horseman territory, so they very well could get out of it. That was an instance he needed to do it in the opposite order. He needed to attack with the Peter Pan first. Chose not to. And as you can see, the Horseman picked off Aurora for some reason, which is not the threat. So one of those many instances of the computer not making optimal lines. It's a cool concept, though. I do really like this Rapunzel. I mean, is it good enough to be competitive? I don't. Probably not. It's still very easy to deal with. Again, now granted, I am against a Ruby deck, and this deck happens to have a lot of the counters with moving damage and with the Headless Horseman. But maybe if we get something that is like maybe steel focused, maybe there's enough here to do it. Really, the main issue is card draw, and you really are relying on the sensor core to keep your hand healthy. All right, here, we'll throw all this back except the Tiana. Holy Uninkables, Batman. That was probably a mistake. And we drew another Uninkable. Yes, I'm kind of paying for that now. Probably should ship back that Tiana too. Of course, it could have just been another Uninkable. There's the Aurora, 1 turn too late. So at this point, I think we just go in on the Ludwig. And it's a blue-green deck this time, so hopefully we can go faster than it and go under it. But here's what I mean. They're already on turn 6. It's turn 3, and they already have 6 ink. So Daisy Duck is not doing anything against a deck like this, because it doesn't. Yeah, he's already on Hades. It's my 3rd turn, and he's got Hades on the field already. So it doesn't really matter. Luckily, I've got the sensor core. I go ahead and quest, say, hey, you're going to have to at least spend some ink to challenge enemy. Computer says, nope, that's okay. We'll just go faster and ramped all the way up to 9, but they have an empty hand. Probably not the ideal way to play that, so I can just go faster. And I just flood the board. All right, well, there's no way you can do the fill-up combo because you don't have enough cards in hand. They actually do draw the fill-up. It's like I willed it into existence, but with no malicious, mean, and scary, he's just a big scary guy on his own. Shifting into the Daisy, the only downside too, it's not like you get the lore burst. Like, if you do the 5-cost Elsa and you shift on the big 8-cost Elsa, you get a +2 lore burst out of that. It doesn't really work for that Daisy, but nonetheless, we at least got ahead of them there just because power of the Tianas. Got some Daisies, got the Rapunzel, and a Sensor Core. I would highly recommend you keep a Sensor Core in your opening hand if you have it. It will essentially be your form of card draw. I don't think I've ever quite been possessed to go in on it on like turn 2. I think you do want to establish aggressive bodies. But once your hand empties out, it will be your comeback mechanic. Elanwi into Rapunzel is pretty nice. So here's an example. They just hardcast Malicious, Mean, and Scary, and it doesn't matter. Even if I had protected Elanwi with support there, which I couldn't in that particular situation, but even if I was able to, it doesn't matter. So here I've got the Sensor Core, and now I just go all in on the Sensor Core. Say, okay, you don't have anything. You shouldn't have any cards with Rush, so she should be okay. There's Prince Philip. All right, at least I got 3 lore out of it. We'll go on that. Yes, you could banish it with a combo. And the fill-up quest, which, you would never really want to do. But I can get my Moanas out, and I just hold. Say, nope, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to hit the Rapunzel. Another 3 lore there. And the most Moanas are 2 apiece. Give one of them support, run into the fill-up, doesn't even take damage. Man, I love the way this card plays. This could be one of those cards that, yeah, it'll never truly be competitive, as we get a Malicious, Mean, and Scary. But it's just fun. It's just a fun card to use. I really enjoy the offensive aspect of it, where you protect someone like I did with Moana, and then you send them in to challenge someone. Computer had 4 Prince Philips in their Inkwell. Not ideal when you're trying to wipe the board with folks. Keep a single Sensor Core. Got some decent lines. Can do Aurora. Can do Daisy. Ludwig. I really do like establishing Rapunzel on 2, especially with the Raja there. Like Rapunzel on 2, Raja on 3. And here we are, we see some steel decks. So, good old Calhoun, normally an issue for us, right? I actually give up one of the Sensor Cores because I get a little unlucky with the ink. And we send in Protect the Raja. Now if Calhoun wants to run into Raja, yeah, they would have to, it wouldn't matter. So here I can actually have Raja kind of protect. We take out Strength of a Raging Fire, and we'll take out the guidebook. Ludwig Gondreg are really ripping their hand apart there. Protect Raja. Raja cleanly takes out the Calhoun. Yeah, they can counter kill with Captain Hook and Calhoun, but who cares at that point? You're having to send in 2 up until they drop the Madam Mim. Yeah, that kind of got me. They got me with that one. 3 Calhouns. Holy moly. Now we've got support, and the problem is with resist, these Calhouns, they have too much, with 1 strength. It's not enough to take them out. As you see, strength, knock out my Rapunzels. I could have done a support chain to try to get them there. I go again and get to the Mulan, which I will be able to put on 4 ink next turn with the Aurora, but you don't really want to quest in front of these Calhouns. I could do a support chain to try to get rid of this Madam Mim. Looks like I'm going to do that. So hit for 2 there, 1 there. Unfortunately, I opened myself up to get just blasted by these Calhouns. And there goes Rapunzel. There goes my support engine. Let's see if we can keep this one alive. And the Ludwig just does nothing against these bodies. And another one. Doesn't hit the Mulan. I mean, it wouldn't have finished her off. I guess that's why. So here I'm almost in a spot where I can take the Calhouns. I'm going to try to be patient. We'll see if this pays off. I could get in trouble for this. There's Lexington. Okay. Yeah, this one might be a lost cause just because they're getting so far ahead. Bodyguard, support. I can actually buff up whatever I want, the Lexington, the Calhouns. And then World's Greatest Criminal Mind, finish it off. And the reason I chose him over Calhoun is I wanted, if he runs the Calhoun into the, I wanted him to have to use both Calhouns on the Bodyguard. We might have a chance here, yeah. Yeah, he'll get 2 lore off this Calhoun, but he's got to run both in. As long as they don't top deck some instant lore. Elanwi takes a free hit there. Oh, don't call it a comeback. And we put Tiana and Moana, and they pretty much have to get instant lore here to stop us. 3 Calhouns, and we were able to flip the script. Really hope we ripped out 2 cards, too, with the Ludwig von Drake. Yeah, you can see just the power of the Rapunzel when she's allowed to do what she needs to do. One more for the road against Amethyst Steel. It's kind of funny because I think Amethyst Steel preys on this deck because it usually does prey on aggressive decks. But in a way, our deck kind of, I think it's too strong to say counters it, but it at least puts some pain on it with the ability of the Rapunzel. But I imagine if they have enough tricks, they'll still be able to get through it. And you can see what a pain those Calhouns were. And that's even just with just the computer piloting them. I do really like Raja as a bodyguard, other than that Hypnotic Strength being a really good counter to him there. But at least he trades the Calhoun out. Yeah, 3-4 on a bodyguard is very, very nice. Especially when you can protect it. We do get the Daisy Shift. Okay, so check it out. So we finally got our Daisy Shift. They ink. It's only they only have 3 ink, even though they technically go in for 4. Same with this turn. They actually can't Elsa me this turn, and that's huge. That's a really big pivotal turn for these purple decks, that turn 5 Elsa or the Hades, whatever they're trying to do. So here, Daisy is showing her power that, hey, I'm going to put you behind on ink. It's so specific for it to line up as we see support, support. Watch how big this Ludwig von Drake is. Casual 6-1, knocks out Lexington. 6 around, no big deal. We have the protection. We have ward, too. So now they can only choose the Aurora. So not only are they going to be warded, so this prevents stuff like the Headless Horseman if it was in this matchup. And then support. Man, obviously, this is a lot to line up, but you can see the power of it. Like, if it lines up, the potential it has. Has to target the Aurora with that. And, of course, we got a pretty easy celebration here. Woohoo! And we'll go ahead and give our final support. It's fun. It's a fun list. Very straightforward. Not a whole lot of bells and whistles, but I do think the Rapunzel is genuinely fun to build around. You could probably cut Daisy. It's probably more of a trap. It's cool when it lines up, but I'm sure you could find another princess or queen to fill the slot and not even bait yourself in with the Daisy effect. But it's still fun. I hope you enjoy it. I'll put the deck list link in the description below. I appreciate you watching so much. And until next time, take care.